Wouldn't it be cool if we could time travel when we're learning something new? Imagine that we're working on an operating system and we want to learn how to install Microsoft Office. So I'll install Microsoft Office and then I want to try it again, maybe with different parameters or in a different way, or just repeat the installation so I can learn how to do it more effectively. Well, what we would normally have to do is uninstall everything that we've done, and it doesn't always work. Sometimes there are remnants of our configuration that linger in the operating system. So then in order to really get a clean, fresh installation of the operating system, we have to wipe out our system, reinstall the operating system, just so that we can practice our installation or our configuration again. Well, with Parallels, we don't have to worry about that because Parallels allows us to do something called snapshots. This means that I can go in, I can install an operating system, and then I can maybe install Python, and I can take a snapshot. And then I can install a Python IDE, an integrated development environment, and take a snapshot. And then I could install some code, or I can install some starter files, and then take a snapshot. And then I can revert back to any point in time in order to retry or redo any of the work I'd like to do. As an instructor, this is fantastic because it means that what I can do is give students the opportunity to try things more than once. We can go back to a good known state that we can then try things again, try things in a different way. This is done through snapshots, so let's take a look at how we can work with snapshots in Parallels. So what I can do is I can have this Windows machine running, and if I go into my action menu, I can create a snapshot. What a snapshot's going to do is take the current state of this machine, and it's going to give it a name, and it's going to save this current state. So what I like to do a lot of times is once I've installed an operating system, or once I initially install an operating system, I like to take a snapshot of that operating system as a fresh installation. This means that at any point I can revert back to this fresh installation and work with it as if nothing had been installed because its current state is fresh. And what I'll be able to do is once it creates a snapshot, I'll be able to go into my programming. I'll be able to, for example, install Python 3.1.2. This is great if I have multiple versions of Python. Maybe I want to try to install 3.1.2, play around with it, then install 3.13, play around with it to see the differences. I can do this off of a clean system without the two versions interfering with each other because I'm going back to a clean system state. So you'll see here I've installed Python, and here it is on my system. So you can see I've installed Python. Now, let's say I decide, you know what, I'd like to go and practice installing Python 3.13. So what I can do is go into my snapshots, and I can actually go and manage these snapshots, choose the state before I installed Python. So the current state has Python installed, the previous state doesn't. So I could go in and create a snapshot on the current state. So I can call this after Python is installed. So now I can revert either to a clean system, or I could go back to this state, which is when Python 3.1.2 is installed. If I want to, you'll see the current state is really the same as what I have here, but what I can do is go into my environment and revert to a snapshot. It's going to ask me, do you want to take a snapshot of the current state before you go back in time? So I don't have to. I can say, no, I'm not worried about the current state. What I'm going to do is just go back and I'm going to revert to the first state. I'm going to go back to before the installation of Python, and I can say, go ahead and go to this particular state. So I could go in and delete the one. So I could say, I don't really want the one after Python is installed. So you can manage your snapshots by deleting them or by reverting to them. So you can see here, now I've got the before installation state. I can go into the menu here and say, let's revert back to this, to the before installation. So I'm about to revert to that. I won't worry about saving the current state. Current state is let go. And I'm now going to go to the snapshot that I took, which is the before installation of Python. And this is now the current state. You'll notice that if I go in to this, to my programs here and look, there's no Python. I don't have Python installed. And even if I search for it in my program list, it's not going to be here. because what I've done is I took a snapshot of the system before I installed Python, and I just went back to that system. I went back in time, and now I could install maybe Python 3.13 off a clean machine. Here's a case where I've created a whole bunch of snapshots. So for example, I created my initial before installation snapshot, then I have the before Python. Let's say, for example, I wanted to install Python, and then I wanted to practice installing 2 or 3 different development environments. So here I've installed Python, and this is before the installation of the integrated development environment. I save that, and you'll see that I now have a branch. So I have the ability, once it's saved that, my current state is before I installed the IDE, before I installed any of the packages and programs, and I could go and change this again. I could say I want to make a different point to be my current state, and it'll revert, it'll go into whatever I chose, and this is right after I installed the packages. So you can see I'm going to be able to go through and be at whatever point in time that I like to be at just by using these snapshots. Snapshots really are a great way to try new things, to repeat things, and to be able to come back to a known state that you can then branch off from and you can actually build upon. It's really important to manage your snapshots when you no longer need to return to that state. I always like to go in and delete snapshots that I know I'm not going to return to. And if you're moving virtual hard drives around, it's important to remove snapshots because it'll make it easier to move the virtual hard drives around. But we can talk about that in another video. For now, snapshots are something you should explore. Check out Parallels. I'll put all the links down below. And chances are, if you're watching this video when I first release it, there might even be a special discount for you. There are discounts from time to time, and I'll always try to make sure that the links here in the video are up to date with the latest and the greatest discount. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.